and welcome to the Sports Cage, Daved Benefield. David, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it. How are you?
How you doing? I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Not bad. Hey, luckily, David, the extreme cold warning in Saskatchewan has broken. The other day it was minus 39, minus 51 with the wind chill. So you're coming on a good day. Things have thawed out around here.
Okay, I won't tell you what it is today, right now. Maybe close to 16, 18, and sunny.
Where are you?
Nice.
Where are you calling us from today?
I'm in Pasadena.
Okay, well, that's okay. It should be that warm there. That's actually cold for Pasadena.
Believe it or not, there are clowns running around in big coats and big shoes like they're in Saskatchewan. It kills me. It's like, do you really need a double down? Do you really need a double down jacket? Like, it's 60 degrees. Come on. Oh God, you guys don't know what I go through with these people.
Daved Benefield is joining us. You went to Cal State Northridge. Explain, how did you end up with the Ottawa Roughriders? What was the process there from college to the CFL?
This is something, because I work with a lot of kids in Canada that are football players that want to come down here, kind of like my son Ty, who plays for Boise State. I was at a Division II school, and at the end of my career, everyone was like, you should try out for pro. And I wound up going to Edmonton first, and then they couldn't figure out what to do with me. And then I went to a spring league that folded with about 1,000 football players in some part of Arizona. And I kept telling the guys every morning, we're not in the paper. How can you have 1,000 football players in a town like this and we're not in the paper? And then next thing you know, they canceled the league. But Steve Goldman from the Roughriders in Ottawa, I believe there were a lot of CFL people there at the time. They were at different levels of their career that were part of this thing. So Steve put the word in because he thought I was doing great down there. And the next thing I know, I was in Ottawa because Edmonton couldn't figure out what to do with me.
Well, Ottawa figured out what to do with you, and they made you into a football player for the CFL, and you obviously had a great career. Favorite spots, favorite stories, as you're sitting here with us, and I haven't had a chance to talk to you, David, but I remember you being a rider and sitting with Paul McCallum after that game in BC. I can remember it distinctly. Yeah, sorry to bring that up. But favorite spots and stories you'd like to relate that some of us might remember from you up here.
Oh God! You know what? When I got to Regina, it was just like I didn't know. Like it was just like I had this apartment right across from all the hotels, right downtown, and it was like I can't remember the name of the street. It was up the street, actually a block away from the Greyhound bus depot. Okay. And I remember Paul going, "You better not walk around that neighborhood late night. That's not a safe place." And then, I mean, we always had it seemed like when we were in Saskatchewan, it was always just guys just going, what are we going to do now? You know, it was always upbeat, always positive, but Paul was comedy because I'd known Paul from before. And he had guys like Schultze who just decided that he was the sexiest man alive. So he thought he could always play ping pong with a jock on or, with a towel. I mean, Schultze was like, he was a scream. He was just a comedy guy. But yeah. And then, and then I would mix drinks the day before and put jazz on. And Ivan would let me play my music, play the jazz. And Roy would come downstairs and go, "Who's playing this?" And I go, "Me." He's like, "Figures," And yeah, so I'd mix drinks, Gatorade and gin, and things like that from the cooler, and sit there with my vintage shaker. I had a vintage shaker in my locker, so yeah, it was a nice little liquor cabinet in my locker.
I love it. I love it.
The game may have changed a little bit. So last year, Plaza of Honor, Darian Durant goes in, and the aforementioned Roy Shivers. Give us your take on Shiv, because it's funny, but he's a colorful personality, and the CFL is full of them. What was he to you?
To me, well, it started out, I didn't like him because I had two receivers that played at our school and they had a workout for Shiv and in California. And the guys were like, these are track guys. So they know 40 yards. They had it all marked. Shiv made them run like a 43-yard 40. And these guys were heated, right? They were heated. So I carried that grudge. Whenever we played against Calgary and I saw Shiv, I was like, that's that guy that did my friends wrong. So it was always like that. But then once I got to Regina, I was just like, he was just always so cool, but very businesslike. It was always, this is how we're going to handle this. And you knew if you were that soft guy and you couldn't handle being spoken to in a way that was like, look, like he wasn't a soft guy when he would talk to you about wanting you to play better. It was a matter of fact, get it done. He didn't swear at you, but I remember one morning he gave us a speech and then the next day I'm like, what are you doing? And he's just like, literally I said that. I was like, Roy, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I got to talk to you guys again. Apparently some of you guys got your little panties in a knot. And I was like, why? You just came at us like somebody that, gives a damn and wants us to turn this around, and he's like, well, those guys are soft, Dave. You're not one of those guys. And that was Roy.
I got a question for you around, you're around young players, you're helping young players out play football. Your son in particular goes from being a quarterback in Canada to a safety in American football. What kind of tips, advice did you give him, or how are you helping him through that process?
Well, Ty didn't want to play quarterback. That's number one. So dads, listen to your kids. But with Ty in Vancouver, I told him, we had a couple schools that were interested in him, like Thousand Oaks. I can't remember the NFL quarterback who played at Oaks Christian, and they had the defensive player of the year in college football. But Ty didn't want to play quarterback, but he had the best arm and he knew how to move around. So it was like, it made sense. But once we transferred to Southern Cal in the Trinity League, home of Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, teams that pretty much beat everybody from every state, regardless, on the road or not. We were at Santa Margarita, and Ty didn't want to play quarterback. And our offensive coordinator, his brother, was the assistant head coach for the 49ers. He dropped a piece of their playbook on us. So we were using an NFL playbook, and it was all bells, whistles, stars, stripes, you name it. Everything, the vernacular, you name it, was in that playbook. And we got there so late after COVID that Ty, being an athlete, was just like, I'll play receiver. And he did, and did really well. And then the next year he transferred schools with a friend and said, I want to play safety and receiver. And we're like, you do you have to hit at safety. You got to tackle. And he showed everyone that he could tackle. And he's been doing it. The guys at Boise are like, the coaches at Boise are like, he comes down and hits people. And, talking to guys like Javon, like Robert Holland, whose son Javon plays for Miami, he's just like, he's athleting himself in the box and playing off the edge and playing like a true strong safety. But, there's so much stuff he does well. So, so it's a lot of people. And then even during the game, the Fiesta Bowl, it was eye-opening to watch him compete against the Penn States of the world. And, and I thought, and having Louis Riddick, a safety who was also NFL executive, he played for Pitt. To have him doing the game and watching Ty and talking about Ty, there was a lot of, I thought he was really great. And it was tough it's tough that they lost, but it was great to hear Louis Riddick, a safety, assessing Ty's ability.
Sounds like some very proud dad moments. Yeah.
Yeah. We're chatting with Daved Benefield here on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. And it's funny, it wasn't this season, it was last season. College football's on. It's a Saturday in the game, and I was like, oh, okay. And then Boise's on, and Ty Benefield. I'm like, I remember Daved Benefield, CFL. I wonder if it's had any relation. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't Google it at the time or whatever. Then I eventually went on to, and not only did he have a great rookie season, sophomore season, so 6'2", 204. Now, explain his lineage. Was he born in Canada? Could he be a Canadian in the CFL? Is he a straight American? Like, how is he going to end up as a rider here? Because if we can get him on as a Canadian, like, what do we got to do here? There's an election coming. If we need some passport stuff worked out, maybe there's some favors to be called in, because it's about that time.
Ty is a true Canadian safety. He's a true Canadian player. He would spend a lot of time with my parents, with my parents every summer at their house, and he would do a lot of camps, like summer camps, not football camps, but we did a good share of them, and we'd throw the ball around at the Rose Bowl. And I said, if you dream hard enough, you may be able to play at the Rose Bowl one day. And I mean, we came close. We got the Fiesta Bowl, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, he's a true Canadian kid. He just happens to have dual citizenship now.
So, okay, J.O., if you're listening, Jeremy O'Day, he probably already knows this because he's already done his due diligence. And it sounds like Dad wouldn't be afraid to pick up the phone or to text somebody to be like, hey, watch that. Ashton Genty, we'll ask about him because keep in mind, Boise State is on the map and being talked about and ends up in the college football playoff because of, I would say he's a big part of the team. What made him so special? Because you probably saw him and what he way before the rest of us got exposed to it.
You guys remember Troy? What was Troy Davis? Troy Davis played for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Blaze Bryant played for Winnipeg. Unfortunately, guys like that. I can't remember. Oh, my guys in Calgary. I can't remember their names now. But those two guys about 5'8". Blaze will tell you he's taller. But the ability to move, to spin in a hole, the leverage, the acceleration, he surprised me so many times when teams would load the box, 8-9 guys in the box, and he'd still manage to find ways to find a crease and then hit it and go. And the balance, he's got great balance. They would say that Marshall Faulk, one of the best running backs to play, he just knew the schematics of your defense and what their jobs were and where they're supposed to be. So therefore, he would go the other way and shred your defense, your front seven, your front eight. He could do that. But Ashton, it's going to be interesting to watch him play in the NFL because, I mean, he's not a tall guy, but he's a well-built guy. About 205 pounds or something like that. I mean, he can accelerate. So he's got great balance and vision.
David, you've recently gone through a trauma that's maybe using the word lightly, to the family and friends and everybody else in Southern California. How are things going with that, and how is the recovery and the rebuild and the restart process going for everyone?
Well, right now I'm literally in a parking lot off the Rose Parade route, Colorado Boulevard, out at State Farm, and we just met with our State Farm adjuster. And folks, you are learning about what your policy really means, what it really covers, what it doesn't. And yesterday I was on site at the house, so we had the lot cleared by it wasn't really the Army Corps. I mean, I know there was a guy that was saying the Army's going to come in and clear everything up, but they have subcontractors, and we had a great team, and they went in there and cleared the lot. So our house is gone. It's just nothing more than a lot and that damn bamboo that we could never kill. It's still there. Fire or not, the bamboo is still growing. So we got to figure out how to get rid of the bamboo. But it's been tough. I mean, it's like, we spent our whole life there, and even around the neighborhood, like I was talking to a guy who owned the house, 2 houses behind ours. And I said, oh my God, we used to run through your yard so much. And he's like, it must have been before I got here. I'm like, yeah, it had to have been. but we knew every nook and cranny in our neighborhood. And, you know, I'm seeing like one of my neighbors, she grew up there. She was one of the few girls on our street, thank God, because we had a bunch of boys that it was football, orange fights, football, grapefruit fight. You know, it was just constantly boys running around playing sports and hitting each other with oranges when you got bored.
We could use some of those fights up here. You get hard apples getting thrown at you all the time. Those things sting when you get those up here. Those little crab apples, those are hurting.
Oh, no, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. But it's tough. Like even Main Street, our little Main Street is shredded. I mean, it's just about all of our buildings in downtown, well, at the Main Street, at the light. And it's funny to say that because I know there's people up there in Saskatchewan that literally have one light in their town and that's it. But it's very similar. We've got the one light, two lights on Lake, and all the, like, my 7-Eleven where we play video games is burned down. The liquor store that we tried to cop liquor from burned down. Everything is gone. The hardware store, you know, is gone. And you meet so many great people during this time that you wish, because we're private, because our area is filled with trees and shrubs. Like you meet these people, it's like, oh, you live there? It's like, yeah. Oh my God, you know, you don't know what we used to call your house and stuff like that, because there's so many scary looking houses, right? And you know, kids would make up, you know, that's the witch's house and that's this house. And it's sad though. It's really sad.
So is the plan to try and rebuild and start life over again? Now, you're in Altadena, correct? Is that the city that you're in or the community that you're in?
Proper pronunciation, Altadena. Al is an Al Bundy. Altadena. Yeah.
Altadena.
So yeah. So my parents' house is in Altadena, and you know, and I was out here for my kids, of course, when they were down here for high school. And I've got one more year of coaching at our high school in Orange County. So we're gonna make another run at trying to get to state and see if we can get some of these kids to the schools they want. Like I got a DN that's got Tennessee on board, and we have another kid coming in that's D lineman. He's a Power 5 kid for sure. So we have, and our quarterback's amazing. So we're going to find out where he wants to play basketball and football. So we'll see what happens.
And tell them if they play their cards right, there could be a spot in the locker room at Mosaic Stadium, a nicer stadium than you ever played in when you were a Saskatchewan Roughrider.
I'm glad they did that. I'm really glad that, you know, the team there, the front office, I'm glad that they really took the time and put that together, because I think kids need that now more than ever, because they need to have a reason to dream, and having a great stadium like that with all the, you know, the look of a high profile Division I or NFL stadium, that's what you got to have. And hopefully Corey, hopefully Corey, because, you know, it's funny, real quick. Corey, I met him the last time I saw him. He was this big, he's a fat kid, and he was on his way to Wyoming, and I think he had like an ice cream in his hand, and I'm sitting out the getting ready to work out, and he just kind of, like, you know, like big boys, kind of walk up there. I'm like, where you going? And he's like, Wyoming. And I'm like, oh, good luck to you, kid. You know, and he just kind of goes off with his ice cream. And I'm like, and now to see him, like, you know, watch him grow as a coach, and now he's the head coach of Saskatchewan. I'm really excited for him, and I hope he can get him. You know, I hope he can get him to the Grey Cup, and they can put it together.
I don't think I'll ever be able to see Corey Mace without thinking about him walking around with an ice cream. That's what I'll have to keep
or Scott Schultz in a jockstrap playing ping pong.
I don't want to remember that.
We don't need to Photoshop that. David, we'll let you get back to it. We appreciate the time this afternoon. Let's do this again. Let's catch up here down the road a little bit.